In board game Grifoni Blade for Hire, you manage a group of mercenaries whom you will prepare for various missions and tasks that they will undertake during the course of the adventure. At the beginning of the game, you will receive your secret objectives, which you will want to achieve in order to win. Additionally, each player has 3 squires at their disposal, whom they will send to camp tents during their turns to perform actions assigned to individual tents. There are 8 tents on the game board that combine to form a camp. As you can see, each tent is a 3-dimensional structure with action spaces. This is where you will send your squires as part of the worker placement mechanics to perform various actions and gain resources and benefits for your band of mercenaries. So during the first phase of the turn, in order of initiative, players place their worker meeples on the tent spaces in the camp. After placing the workers, we move on the phase 2, action phase. Now the effects of the tent are resolved in order from tent 1 to tent 8. So in this phase, players acquire resources, hire mercenaries, purchase equipment, influence the balance of power, or choose a direction from the storybook to advance the plot. Now look at each player's board. Here is the wagon, which is where players organize their mercenaries and their equipment, regardless of whether they are in reserve or on the front line. The loading area on the wagon provides space for resources. But beware, remember not to overload the wagon, as this will reduce its movement value because you will cover the hill symbols with markers and resources tokens. So pay attention to this, especially since you will be carrying out missions at various distance from the camp, so you need to be able to move to get there. I mentioned equipment. When a player obtains equipment through a game effect, they receive an equipment card slide under the mercenary card if you want to equip him with this specific equipment. Next, draw the appropriate equipment token, which must be placed on the wagon part on the player's board. So as you can see, it's a bit like a puzzle similar to Tetris. Additionally, each piece of equipment belongs to one of 4 categories, marked with a symbol in the lower left corner of the card. In this game, ambition cards, that was a secret goal of players, provide additional victory points at the end of the game based on the combination of equipment categories owned by the team. In this board game, choosing the right mercenaries is the key to victory. There are 6 different classes of mercenaries in this board game, symbols in the upper left corner of the card. This is important because ambition cards provide additional victory points at the end of the game based on the combination of mercenary classes you recruit in your squad. So in the front line there are 3 spaces below the wagon board. The player uses the strength value and effects of these mercenaries to perform tasks. Reserve. This is when a mercenary is in the personal reserve on the side of the wagon board. So once you have assembled your band of mercenaries, decide which one to place on the front line, I mean below your board, and set off on adventure with this team to tackle the task that await you there. So locations are area outside the camp, both near and far, where groups of players' mercenaries will undertake tasks. You will perform tasks during phase 3, quest. To do so, the player must meet the requirements in the given order. So first, you must meet the distance requirement. The player's total movement value is the sum of the armed mercenaries on the front line and the fully revealed space on the wagon with visible movement symbols. Second, you must meet the strength requirement, I mean count the total power of all the armed mercenaries of the front line. If it's equal to or greater than the power value required to complete the task, and now you receive the task card. Finally, the player can choose a story treat. The player reads the narrative text and chooses one of 3 available options, immediately reserving the reward shown at the bottom of the card. Finally, They place the task card in a special place in their wagon, I mean at the bottom of the board on the left. Grifoni, Blades of Fire board game contains 3 adventures. In this prototype version, I will show you the Assault of the Castle. Each adventure consists of a storybook. As you can see, here are scenarios for 1 to 13. The second book is Endings book, where you will find various possible adventures from 14 to 40, each with different scoring conditions. So depending on the story choices made by players between acts, your story can take you in different directions and down different paths. And at the end of the game, each player reveals their secret objective cards and count the points earned by the players depending on the degree of completion of tasks, objectives and missions to determine the winner.